Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, I am going to create the stairs game in Unity. So it's a clone of the popular catch-up game stairs, in which the ball bounces along stairs and there are points, spikes, and diamonds on the stairs. So it's just going to be a pretty basic beginner game. So if you are new to the channel and if you want to uh, learn more about creating games, you can follow the playlist. There are also beginner, and now this one's going to be a almost a clone type playlist. So let's start creating the game. So as you can see, I've created a new scene, and there's just saved the scene as a gameplay and added all the folders and material. It just have new material. I have not assigned anything, just create the relevant sprites and models. These are the models which I'm going to import. If you want, you can get it from the GitHub link. And there's the game manager script. And as the new scene gameplay is created, we don't have any prefabs for now, and the text mesh pro is installed. So let's start creating the game. So we'll first begin with the UI element. So for the UI, what we are going to have is first the score. So it's going to be a text mesh pro element, and let's have size 128 towards the center, and let's make it black. So it's going to look like this, and let's set to 800 by 200, and we'll make it towards the center. And if we change the text to 00, it's going to look almost something like this. And let's position it correctly. So let's position it from the top and negative 350. And let's create an image for the diamond. So it's going to be an image, and let's just call it diamond. And this image is going to be the diamond image, and for now we'll set its color to be red, and it's going to be positioned towards the right. Let's make it 00, and let's increase the size to 150 by 150, and negative 75 by negative 75. So that's how the diamond's going to look, and we'll add a text to it. So let's add a UI text mesh pro, and we'll call it diamond count, and this one's going to be positioned from the right, and let's make it negative 250. Let's make it bold, 96 or maybe 64. We'll see it afterwards. And let's change the color to black. So that's our text going to look for now. And we'll set it to 0. So let's increase the width to 400 and height to 150. And let's position it at 250. So the number of diamonds not going to increase much, so we are not going to change anything. And let's create a UI button, and we'll just call it quit button. And similarly, it's going to position towards the top. Let's increase the size, and uh, no color tint, and we'll have no color to it. And we'll position towards the bottom left, which is similarly, let's 300 and negative 75. And for the text, we are just going to say quit, make it bold, and increase the size to 96. So that's how it's going to look. And we'll position a little bit more towards the left, so 250 or maybe 200. So that's a quit button. Now we'll also need the start button. So for the start, we'll add a UI button text mesh pro, and let's call it start. And it's not going to have anything, and we'll just make it 1000 by 1000. So here we are going to click to start the game, and let's rename this to start text, and let's rename it to tap to play, and we'll increase its size to 96 bold, and color is also going to be black. And for the start button, we'll decrease the color opacity, And after having a start text, we'll also need to create the high score text. And for the high score, instead of tap to play, it's going to say best 0, and we'll position it downwards negative 300. So this one's going to show our score, and now we'll need one more for the end panel. So it's similarly going to start, but instead of having the best at the top, we'll have the best at the bottom. It will have the best at the top, and instead of start text, we'll call it end text, and it's just going to say restart, and we'll need it like this. And let's change its color to red for now. And similarly its size going to change, so 800 by 150, 175, and the end text, it will, let's make it white. So that's our end panels going to look, and nothing else needed for the canvas right now. So let's start creating our stairs. So the stairs are just going to be a default cube. So let's go inside the scene and let's add a 3D cube. It's going to be positioned at 0, 0 and 0. And let's change its size 7.5, 1 and 2. And we created a material for it, and this blue material we are going to set its color. So its color is going to be 64 159 255. So let's have it 64 159 and 255, and let's add this color to the cube, and let's rename this cube to block, and let's have it a tag of block, and let's add all the tags. So there's going to be a tag of diamond and spike, and one more tag's going to be for the combo, and let's add the tag of the block, and it's going to have a box collider, and let's add one more box collider, and it's going to set to be a trigger type. We'll need two box colliders on it so it can detect both the collisions and the triggers. So after we added this cube, as you can see it in the gameplay, we can almost look it as a stair, and let's change the directional light. So let's have it 9000, and let's increase this intensity to something like 0.757, and let's save this block as a prefab for now. And after we have this block, let's duplicate it a couple more times, and we'll position it uh, around the top. And similarly, let's duplicate it a couple more times, and we'll create a stair, and let's have our main camera not go too far, so it's just going to show from 25. So that's how our blocks going to look, and let's set the direction light intensity to 0.4, 7, 2. Yep, 2 is looking better, and there's not going to be anything else. So we have block, and let's delete the directional light. Okay, 0 0.2, 0 0.4. 0 0.4 is better. Now, after we have our block, we'll need to attach a player. So for the player, we have game manager. These are the blocks. And what else is needed now? So let's attach the player. So let's create an empty, and we'll call it player. Let's position it at 0, 0, 0, and we'll create a 3D sphere inside it, and we'll rename it to ball. And if we position the player in the y-axis by 1, we should be able to see the ball. And this is the ball we are going to use, and for the ball we'll create its appropriate color. So let's add the turquoise or the blue color for now, and it should look almost good. So now we'll need to animate the ball. So not animate, it's going to be physics calculations are going to be a little bit difficult. So we'll just have it move towards the next step as transform.translate. And similarly, there are block prefabs. So let's start having the block or the scripts for the ball. So inside the scripts, let's create a script for the player, and we'll create a one more script for the ball. And the next script we are going to create is for the camera. So it's going to be a camera follow script, and the last script we are going to need is for the block, which will create it afterwards. So let's start editing the ball script. So the ball needs to just bounce top and down. So we'll use it like just transform.translate, and we'll decrease its velocity so it behaves like some gravity is added to it. So let's go inside Visual Studio and let's start editing our ball script. So inside the ball, uh, for the start, let's first create a serialized field, and here we'll need a couple of things. So the first thing we'll need is the start speed and the force multiplier. And next, let's create a pivot floor for acceleration, and we'll need the speed. So inside the start, we'll set the speed to be equal to start speed, and afterwards we'll set acceleration is equals to negative start speed multiply by the force multiplier. And inside the update, we'll say speed plus is equals to acceleration into time dot delta time, and let's create temp 0, 0, 0, and instead of y direction we'll set its speed to time multiplied by delta time. So we're changing the speed, and depending on the speed we are creating the offset, and afterwards we'll do transform dot local position plus is equals to temp. So initially the speed is the start speed, so it will start decreasing, and afterwards the speed will change. And let's do on collision enter, and if it collides with anything then we'll set the speed to be the start speed. So they should work, and we'll need to change the speed and the start speed. And similarly, let's create our speed for the players. So here, instead of vector 3, and let's call it movement speed, and after having the movement, let's have a serialized field private float speed, this speed's going to be for moving left and right. And there's going to be public bool has game started. And afterwards, let's set has game started to false, and movement speed is going to be new vector 3, and where we need to move is the 0, 1 and 2. 0, 1 and 2. So it's going to be vector 3, and similarly we'll call it inside the update function. So we'll do transform dot translate, and we'll translate movement speed into time dot delta time. So it will move towards the next step. And hmm 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 so it should get our ball working. So let's go inside Unity and let's attach both the script to the player. So the player will have the player script, and speed's going to be 15, and the ball's going to have the ball script. The start speed's going to be 16 with a force multiplier of 2. So now if we hit play, it should start bouncing and there should not be any problems. So there's a trigger. The blocks, they have a trigger and colliders. So where's the problem? So whenever a ball collides with anything, the speed's going to be the start speed. So doesn't look like there's any more problems. So let's go inside the prefabs and let's disable the trigger collider. So now maybe it should work. Hmm. There is a problem with the ball. 16-2. Okay, we'll need a rigid body to detect the collision. So the ball will need a rigid body and it's going to be kinematic, and there's no need to disable the box collider. And let's hit play now. So the ball should start moving as we want it to, and it's moving a little bit bad. I don't know why it's happening. So let's see where's the problem. Mm, mm. So the player, the movement speed not going to change. Instead of 0, 1 is in the y and 2 is in the z direction. Time dot delta time. So let's hit play and let's see where's the problem. True. Okay, so for the ball, let's change the start speed to 20 and let's have it see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's moving downward, not going upwards. So there's a problem with the player. So it's changing the ball's not following. Hmm, hmm, hmm. So the ball and the player are moving correctly, but there's some problem with the ball. So let's see. Upwards, 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 upwards. So why did it move down? So let's change the start speed to 16 and we'll see how we can fix it. Okay. So there should be some problem with the ball start speed and acceleration. We are only moving it. So suppose if we have the ball constraint its rotation and only move in the y direction, so maybe it should not happen. Yep, there was a problem with the ball. So I don't know why it happened, but it was also moving in the X direction, which should not happen mostly. So it's already moving at the correct places. And let's play again and let's go inside the scene. So center, center, center. Okay. So there should be some problem with the player. New vector 3 transform.translate movement speed into time.delta time. So instead of update, let's do it in the fixed update. And we'll do transform.translate the movement speed into time dot fixed delta time. And let's remove it from the update function. So now maybe there should not be any problems. One, two, three, four, five, six. So currently the ball 0 1 0, and now we are moving it 0 1 2. So let's see for the player where's the problem. Movement speed into time dot delta time. So it's all going to, let's have a yellow. So now if we move, let's attach play. And okay, so it is working correctly, but there's some problem with the speed. Hmm. Hmm. So the ball is working correctly, but there's some problem. I don't know why is one and Z is two. So the movement speed should be 0 1 and 2, and we are translating by the movement speed, so there should not be any problem, but we'll see about it later. So we have our ball movement, and let's delete all the blocks and we'll spawn it inside our start function. So let's start editing the game manager. So inside the game manager, let's attach the game manager script. And similarly, let's try it one more time. So the speed's not going to matter. It's already at 0 1 and 0 position, and the ball is going to move from X. So let's see what would happen. Okay, there's no need to check already. So let's freeze it, and for the player, hmm, the speed direction is in this direction. So for the Z, it's going to move two step, maybe one, and 0 2 and 1 7.5, y is 1 and z is 2. So the speed is correct. Hmm, hmm, hmm. There should be some problem with the ball. So we are having the okay, maybe we'll need to change the force multiplier. So let's go inside the ball and let's change the force multiplier to 2.5 and let's see what happens now. Hmm, doesn't look good. So we have a start speed to 16. Let's change to 8 and 2. It is also not good. Let's change it to 20 and 2. There's problem with the player start speed. Ball 0, 2 and 1. 0, 1 in the Y and 2 in the Z. So now players correct. Let's change it to 16. So now it should work. 1, 2, 3. Yep, there's problems. So if you change it to 20, we need to have it. hmm, Still not good enough. 24. Let's change the force multiplier to 2.5. 3. So let's just set it afterwards and let's create a game manager. So for the game manager, let's go inside Visual Studio and let's see what we can do with the ball. Let's player script. So there's the private float speed and okay, has game started is false. And similarly, we have a serialized field, movement speed, and there is no problem with the player, it's working correctly. Maybe it should be with the ball. So there's a start speed, force multiplier, negative start speed into force multiplier, and speed plus is equals to. Hmm, hmm, hmm. What would happen if we let's put this inside the fixed update and instead of delta time we'll call the fixed delta time. So the speed is increasing, start speed is equals to speed and nothing else. New vector 3 times 0, it's going to move depending on the speed. If the speed is 0, whenever it collides the speed will instantly change, so there is no problem with the speed. Acceleration is equals to negative start speed into force multiplier. Hmm. So acceleration is also constant. So there should not be any problem. So let's go inside the game manager and let's start creating. So for the game manager, let's create the public static game manager instance. And we'll initiate inside the awake function. So if instance is equals to null, then we'll call instance is equals to this, else we'll just destroy the game object, and afterwards we'll set the time scale to 1f and has game started, so we'll need to create it. So it's going to be public boolean has game started, and has game started is going to be false. And afterwards, inside the start function, we'll create serialize field, and let's create a private game object, and once for the start button and the end panel, and we'll need one more for the block prefab, and let's create all the variables first. So let's do using tm pro, and let's create a serialize field private t text, and the first one's going to be for the score text, the diamond text, the high score text, and the high score end text. And let's create a serialized field for the private vector 3 start pose and the offset, and private and score, then the diamond count and combo, and the last one we are going to need is for the high score. And let's set it up in the start function. So start button dot set active to false and panel dot set active to false, and we'll need to show the start button, so it's going to be true, and afterwards we'll set score to 0 and combo to 1, and high score going to be player prefs dot ASCII, and we'll need to get the high score key, and if it has the high score key, then we'll get it from the high score. So this should be for the high score, and similarly we'll get for the diamonds, and it's going to be the diamond count, and nothing else needed. Now let's set up the text. So score text dot text is going to be score dot string, diamond text dot text is going to be diamond count dot to string, and the high score text dot text is going to be best plus high score dot to string, and yep, nothing else is needed. And next we'll need to spawn the blocks, so let's create a void spawn block, and let's spawn 10 blocks first, and inside the spawn blocks we are just going to get the game object, and let's call it temporary block, and it's going to be instantiate of the block prefab, and temporary block dot start position, will add offset, and temp block dot transform dot position is going to be the start position. and I don't think it needs an update function. So let's create the rest of the functions. So the first function we'll create is, let's create the update diamond, and this function will do diamond count plus plus player prefs dot set int, and we are going to change the diamonds, and it's going to be set for the diamond count, and let's text is going to be diamond count dot string, and similarly it's going to be for the update score, and instead of score plus we'll call the score plus plus, and we'll set the combo to be 1, and there's no need to set the player prefs. So score text dot text is going to be score dot to string, and let's create one more for the update combo, and here we'll do combo plus plus score plus is equals to combo, and score text dot text is going to be score dot to string, and after update combo let's create the game over function. So let's create public void game over, so the game's going to finish if we bounce somewhere else. So let's just set the time scale to 0f, and after setting up the time scale we'll show the end panel, and let's update the high score. If score is greater than high score, we'll set the high score to be score, then we'll do player prefs dot set int high score to be high score, and we'll do high score, and text dot text is going to be best plus high score dot to string, and that's for the game over. Let's create the public void game start, and we'll need to create one more for the player. So this one will start getting the input for the player. So for the start, we'll first do start button dot set active to false, and panel dot set active to, nope, there's no need for end panel, not the start button dot set active to false has game started to true, and we'll need to update in the player dot get component player, and inside the player we'll set the has game started to true, and let's create our game restart and the game quit functions also. So it's going to be unity engine dot scene management dot scene manager dot load scene, and we'll load the zeroth scene, and similarly public void game quit, and inside the game quit we'll just call the application dot quit, and if we are inside the unity editor, so we'll call the unity editor. So unity editor dot add application dot displaying to false, and we'll add the end if, and that should be it for the game manager. So let's update everything for our fixed update, and let's just update it. So for the player, mm, 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 so player is pretty much easy. So we have a start, we have a fixed update, and we'll need to check for the input. So if has game started, then we'll just return and we'll do transform dot translate and we'll translate at the input dot get axis and let's get the horizontal axis and we multiply by speed into time dot fixed delta time comma 0 and 0. So this one should move and let's create the update function. So inside the update temp going to be transform dot position and if temp dot x is greater than 3.75f, temp dot x is equals to 3.75f. And similarly, if temp dot x is less than negative 3.75, temp dot x is going to be negative 3.75, and we set the transform dot position to be the temp. That should do it for the fixed update, and that should be it for a player. Now let's start editing our ball script. So for the ball script, we have our update function, but if it goes beyond a certain point, so if transform dot position dot y is less than negative 0.1f, then we'll call the game over function. And let's go inside the collision enter. So it needs to be public because we are calling it from there. And for the ball, we'll call the spawn block function and we'll check game object after 5 seconds and destroy. So that should be it for now. We'll do the triggers later and let's go inside Unity and let's plug up all our scripts. And let's delete this 3 duplicate blocks because we are going to spawn it later. And let's update our game manager. So there's our start button, the first game object. Next there's a quit button, which is the end panel. And then we have a block prefab. And then we have a player prefab, the score text, and the diamond text. Quit. Quit, there's no need. The high score, which is inside the start. And next we have the high score end, which is inside the end. And offset is going to be 1 and 2. And as game started is already set up, it should be false. And we'll need to attach the functionality for our start button. So for the start button, on click, attach the game manager and let attach the game start function. And similarly for the end, we'll attach our game restart function. And similarly for the quit, we'll attach our game quit function. So there should not be any problems for now. Okay. So it already called the game end function. I don't know why did that happen. Let's quit the game and so there should be some problem with the ball. It changed negative. Yeah. Let's change it to something more negative 0.1f instead of negative 1f. So let's see now if it is working. So we have our ball bouncing and the ball's bouncing almost pretty much correctly, but there is a problem with her. Where did our ball go? Hmm. So we did attach the destroy on collision enter. We'll need to destroy the collision.game object. So there was a problem with the destroy function. Instead of destroying the ball, we need to destroy the stairs. So one, two, three, four. Let's make it orthographic and let's see how it's working. So there's a problem. The x speed is too low, and if we multiply it by 2 seconds, so let's go inside the player and let's multiply it by 1.5. So I don't know what would happen, but let's see if it is working, or else we'll multiply by 2 seconds. But now as you can see, there are some problems, but not too much. So let's multiply it by 2 more. So instead of 1.5, let's change it to 2f and let's see if it is working. So it's already pretty much so much. Maybe 1.75 will be good. I don't know why it is happening, but we'll adjust with it for now. Maybe there was some problem. Or maybe don't. Now it's having a little bit of problem. 1.6 would be better. We already did 1.5, so let's do 1.65. And similarly, we are not doing physics or force calculation, so we cannot accurately predict where it's going to spawn. So 1.65 is pretty much less, and 1.7. So the code is correct, but I don't know why is it not working. Center, 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 no error. Doesn't look like it will have errors. Yep, bit by bit, it's accumulating. So let's see what's the problem. Our movement speed is going to move in the y direction and in the fixed delta time. Movement speed into time dot fixed delta time. So there should not be problem. Every 1 second it should move toward its location. So let's just fix it. So let's duplicate this block and we'll move it in the x by 1 direction and z by 2 direction. But now if we move our player by +1 and 2, it should be here, so there is not any problem with the player. 1 and 2 is already pretty much correct, but our ball, which is moving almost pretty much rogue-like, let's set up our player and let's have the ball work correctly. So instead of force multiplier of 2, let's have force multiplier of 3. Still there are problems. It's moving twice. There should not be any problems. So inside the ball, we are moving the start speed multiply by the force multiplier acceleration. We have our speed is set to start speed, and we are changing the speed and moving depending on the speed, changing the temporary position, and collision we are just changing the position. So there should not be any problems here. So let's see what is the formula. V is equals to V naught plus AT for to 0. The time is going to be V naught by A. Hmm, hmm, hmm. 0.5 seconds to reach the highest point. So force multiplier should be 2. That's already fixed. And let's change the start speed to 24. And maybe 32. Hmm. There's problem with the forward speed. So for the player, instead of having 0, 1 and 2, let's see if my code is correct. So let's start with the player. So as game started is false and the movement speed is 0, 1 and 2. So the movement speed is correct. And inside the fixed update, we are changing the player's transform, which is the movement speed into time dot fixed delta time. And afterwards, we are going towards it. And similarly, we are changing inside the ball negative start speed into force multiplier. So it should reach t is equal to V naught by a 2 by force multiplier. So if it's true, 2 is the only option we have. D is equals to half AT square, ET square. So the highest distance is going to depend on the velocity. Acceleration we are changing, so acceleration should not depend. So for the ball, instead of 32 and 4, let's see how it works now. 3, 30 and 3. Let's just double the speed for our player. So instead of 0, 1 and 2, let's double it by 2 times so we can see how it's going to work. And for the ball, let's have it at 16 and 2. So the speed is doubled, it's working correctly, but 16 and 4, now what will happen? Okay, we'll need to attach the camera follow. So we'll fix it afterwards at the last step, or maybe I won't fix it. So let's go inside Visual Studio. And before that, we'll need to create the camera follow script. We already created it. And inside the camera follow script, so we have our player working correctly. There's not going to be any change. We'll need to change our ball, so it's just going to update the score depending on the collision. And for the camera follow, it's going to be serialized field, and let's add a private game object follower, and let's create a private vector 3 offset, and offset is going to be transform dot position minus follower dot transform dot position. And inside the update, we'll set transform dot not update fixed update transform dot position is going to be follower dot transform dot position plus offset, and that should work for our camera. So let's go inside Unity, and let's attach the camera script, or rather the camera follow script, and let's see if it is working. We are not attached a player, so let's attach our player. And if we play now, there is no condition for game end, so the game is not ending. And we'll need to change our player specs. So the start speed, let's remain as it is. Let's change the force multiplier to 2. And if we change the force multiplier to 2, it's not going to be. Yeah, that's what I was. So the speed needs to be the same. It needs to move that amount of steps in the first place. Hmm, hmm, hmm. So we almost everything set up. Let's attach our optical obstacles, and after we'll debug our speed. So that's how game's looking now. And if we check our end condition, it's going to look almost pretty much better. And Quit. Why is quit not showing up? We set it to false. Oh, we need to change the end. Where's our game manager? End panel's going to be the end one. So the quit's working correctly. We have our best, and before that I saved the player prefs as the diamond instead of diamond, so it's not going to show my previous player prefs. So our ball is moving and we are able to move left and right, and there's always some problem with the force script, so we'll deal with it afterwards. But now we need to attach for updating the score, and I have our spikes, so we'll need to create the spikes and the forces. So the first thing we'll need to create, let's create the diamond. So let's go inside our sprites and let's attach our diamond script. Let's reset its transform and let's position it a little bit higher, maybe around 1, and we'll increase the size to 75, maybe 20 would be fine. And let's have it positioned towards the downward, and we'll move it a little bit upwards, and we'll change its color. So let's duplicate this material 3 times. So for the blue one, let's rename it to red, and maybe it's pink, doesn't matter. So for this, let's change the R to maximum and G to maximum, and let's attach this material to our diamond. So it's looking almost pretty much reddish, and let's change its color. So it's going to be 2555492. So 2559452. So 5492, sorry. So it's almost pretty much pinkish, and let's have it a little bit of metallic touch with increased decreased smoothness, and we'll save it as a prefab. So there's a diamond, and we'll attach a mesh collider, and we'll set it to be a trigger type, and we'll tag it as a diamond, and let's save it as a prefab. So that's our diamond. That's an original prefab, and its material is red. I don't know why it's showing like this. Now let's delete our diamond and let's add our spike, and we'll change it to 75, 75, 75. Let's have it 0, and we'll make it negative 90, and let's position it at 1.25. Yep, 1.5 would be better, and 75 is the required one. Maybe not 75, 50, and we'll position it at 1.1. And similarly, let's rename one of our material blue to, let's rename it to black, and as you can see it's going to be black, and let's change its color to a little bit lighter towards gray. So let's have it increased. Wow, smoothness is good, so let's increase the smoothness, and let's have it 0.5. And for the metallic, so for the black, let's have it 0.5, and we'll change it to 65. So it looks a little bit grayish, and we'll attach it, and we'll save it as a prefab. everything showing blue. And now the last thing we'll need is our disk. So similarly, it's going to be here. Let's change its scale 75, 75, 75, and let's position it at 0.51. 0.52, and let's decrease its scale 50, 50, 50, and similarly we'll rename one of the material. So instead of blue 3, we'll just call it, what color we'll need. Let's have a blue disk, and its color we are going to 153 203 255. So it's going to be something like lighter version of blue. And we'll save it as a prefab. Before saving it, let's see if we have a mesh collider. Spike does not have a mesh collider. So we need a mesh collider convex trigger with a tag of spike. And let's save the disk. Similarly, it does not have mesh collider. And we'll save as the combo convex spike. And let's delete our disk. So we have all our obstacles with the correct colors, and we'll just spawn obstacles when the game start, and we'll spawn those obstacles as a directly parent of the block. So yep, I'm recording it. So let's go inside Visual Studio, and we have created the block script which we are going to attach to a block prefab, and we'll start editing the script. So the first thing I'll block is we need a serialized field private game object, and we'll need the spike prefab, then the disk prefab, and the last thing we'll need is the diamond prefab. So let's go and see what we'll need to do. So it's almost going to be pretty much forward, and let's add a serialized field list of vector trees, and we'll need the spawn points. Mm. There's nothing inside the update function, so let's delete the update function, and let's start going in our start function. So for the start function, we will first check if the game is not started, which we are going to get it from the game manager dot instance dot has game started. Then we'll just return. Else we'll do game object temp is going to be instantiate, and what we are going to instantiate is the disk prefab. And let's create the spawn position. And we are going to get it from the spawn points. And after getting our spawn points, we'll set the temp transform position. Transform dot position plus spawn was into transform dot scale dot x, and afterwards we'll add the disk prefab dot transform dot position. So it should work, and we'll remove the spawn posts. And now we'll need to spawn the spike. So int number of spike is going to be random dot range, and we'll need at least one, and a maximum of 5, and we'll do y number of spike not equal to 0. Follow this step, and instead of spawning the disk prefab, we'll spawn the spike prefab, and similarly, and number of spike minus 1. So that should do for our spike. And the last, let's spawn points dot count is equals to 0. Then we'll just return. Else we'll copy this line. Maybe we should copy this one. And instead of the spike prefab, we are going to go for the diamond prefab. And instead of spike prefab dot transform dot position, we'll use the diamond prefab dot transform dot position. And that should be it. So let's go inside Unity and let's see if we our objects are spawning the respective spikes. So let's attach 5 spawn points, and let's go to 0.2, negative 0.2, 0.4, and negative 0.4. And for the game objects, there's a spike, next is a disk, and the last one's our diamond. So now if we started playing, it should be, when we start, it should start spawning our objects, which is not, because we are not attached. Okay, we are adding 2 money blocks at the start position, so which is inside the game manager, and instead of 10 we'll just spawn 5 blocks. And there is also a problem with her. We are spawning double the amount of blocks we need, so we need to change it. And as you can see, we can move left and right, and we'll need to change it for our collisions. So we have our spikes, we have our diamonds, and for the disk it's not going to be a trigger. It's need to be convex, but it's not going to be trigger. And similarly we have it for our block, and we are able to spawn the objects. And let's go inside Visual Studio and let's update the scores. So everything's going to be happening inside the ball. We have a player moving correctly, transform.translate, and it also moving inside the bounds. The camera is following correctly, all the functions in the game manager are correct. The block is also spawning our blocks. Now we need to go inside the collision, so let's start editing it. So for the block, the first thing we are going to check if the game has not started, then we'll just return. Else we'll compare the tags if collision dot game object dot compare tag, and if it has a tag of block, then hmm 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 will destroy collision dot game object after 5 seconds, and spawn blocks going to be called, and we'll update the score. Else if collision dot game object dot compare tag, what we are going to compare is the combo, then we'll destroy collision dot game object and we'll call the update combo. And we'll need to call the triggers. So on trigger, and let's do other dot compare tag diamonds. Is it diamonds or diamond? So the tag should be diamond. Then we'll call the game manager dot instance dot update diamond. Else if we are colliding with a spike, should be the game over tag, and we'll spike, spike, spike. Okay, for the diamond, we'll need to delete. So that should do the work. And let's go inside Unity, and we should have a full game running with the game over instances. So there is nothing going wrong. So let's hit play and let's set the combo. So there's a combo, and let's hit the restart. And as you can see, there's a problem with the lighting, so we'll add the new lighting settings, generate lighting, and it should work. So let's hit play again and we'll fix all the errors. So now instead of 7, 8, 9, 13, 16, the diamonds are getting collected and we can restart the game. So the only problem that's remaining is with our players. So it's not working correctly. So the players should move the appropriate amount of steps. So I'll go inside Visual Studio. So the problem with the player is depending on the movement speed, it should move it inside the 1 second. So the speed is how much it is meter or the units per second. So debug.log time. So let's do debug.log time. And let's see what is happening. So it should move 1 unit in the forward direction. So if we go inside the console, if we hit play, 5, 6, 7. There's no point in having debug.log. So let's do time dot fixed delta time, and it's also inside the fixed update. If we multiply the speed, it's going to go pretty fast. The ball. Let's just go inside Unity and let's see what the ball is doing. So for the player, there is not going to be change in any speed, but similarly for the ball, it's moving at a start speed of Z, and let's have it a start speed of 16 and a force multiplier of 1, and let's see what happens now. Mm, 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 mm. 1 second, every 1 second it should move one step. I'm bad with calculating time. So now there's a problem. It's moving now much faster. And if we change the force multiplier to 1.5, or let's set it to 1.6 instead of 2. Let's see what happens. Okay, so now it doesn't look like it's going to, yeah, there's problem. 1.6 is also not good. 1.5. Uh, let's make it 1.25. It's a little bit higher. Let's change 16. Are we going to move 16? Let's make it 20 and let's set it to 1.5. So now maybe it should do something better. Center, center, center. There should be some problem sometime. Almost it's at the center, but we don't know. So this should work, and let's see if our game is working. So we have 3 diamonds, and let's do tap to play. And we are able to move left and right, and the combo we increase. Okay, let's restart, and let's set our restart text not to be ugly looking one. So let's go inside the game and let's change the color to be this one. So now if we tap to play, we should have our diamonds and our, so the diamond count is increasing. We are able to 13, and let's restart it again and let's do the tap to play. So 6, 9, 12. We'll need to restart, restart, and restart. So there may be some problem with the combo. 8, 11, 15, 18, 21, 24, 28, 31, 34. So the combo is pretty much fixed at 3. So there may be some problem with the triggers, and we'll need to do else if update score. It's going to collide twice because we are forcefully changing its position. Speed is equals to start speed, and we'll update a new block. So instead of having the temp, speed plus is equals to acceleration into time dot delta time. So it should move in the forward direction, and I don't know why is it not working. So there's the update score and the update combo. Hmm, hmm, hmm. If it collides, collision dot game object. Update combo will have the block remaining. But let's debug it one more time and let's see if there are any problems. If there are some problems, I'll try to fix it in my repository or in the GitHub repo which I'm going to add. So that is a restart. Let's hit play, and if we are colliding with any of the, it's getting moved, but the count is pretty, combo is pretty much set at the default position. 37, 40, 43. I think I know why it's happening. When it collides with the block, it's going to reset its combo. And we'll need to check it. So there is a combo reset, but again, the combo is reset to 3. And let's just try and see. There is a best and there are our diamonds. So that's it for this video. And I'll try to fix whatever problems there are in the GitHub repository. And if you guys are watching till now, thank you for watching. And if you want to suggest any more videos which I should, uh, you want to suggest, to comment it in the comment section below. And do like and subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next video.